been beloved by people for a long time in the PC world, so Payday 3 could be a big deal. Keep your eye on it. Next, over at number 31, we have Layers of Fears. This is essentially a re-release, repackaging of the Layers of Fear games, but seemingly with new graphics, everything kind of updated, and new little twists kind of thrown in here and there. We don't know too much about it, but we do know it is dropping soon, and it's a good reason to revisit those games because they were pretty sweet. Next, over at number 30, we have Alone in the Dark. This is kind of like a reimagining of the original old game with a little bit more of an over-the-shoulder kind of third-person camera navigation and combat and stuff like that. We don't know too much about it yet. This kind of like surprise drop announced this year, but the return of Alone in the Dark and actually embracing horror, survival horror, mystery, we're all for it. We are absolutely keeping our eyes on this one. Now, next over at number 29, we have Atlas Fallen. This is from the developers behind The Surge and The Surge 2, but they're going in a different direction. It's not really a Souls-like or anything like that. This seems kind of like an old-school, open-world action-adventure game with a cool kind of fantasy character, big, over-the-top combat abilities, and scary monsters. This has been delayed a few times, but it looks like a refreshing thing. It kind of looks like a mix between Nier Automata and just kind of an old-school Xbox 360, PS3 combat game, like a Darksiders type of thing. And you know what? That checks some of my boxes. Now, over at number 28, we have Exoprimal, which is that dinosaur game that when it was first announced by Capcom, people thought it was going to be Dino Crisis. It is certainly not Dino Crisis. It's actually way crazier than that. This is like a PvE VP like shooter with so much chaos to the point where like the dinosaurs are raining from the sky and you got to hop in mech suits and murder them and also compete against other players. It's really wild and weird, but it works. It seems like people have been enjoying the beta and we're excited to see more from it this year. Next, over at number 27, we have Arc Raiders. This is like a sci-fi, seemingly free-to-play co-op shooter with just a really cool art style to it, and it being in third person. Honestly, there are so many first-person shooters out there. We love some third-person love every once in a while, and just the style of this one is why we've kept our eye on it. Now, next over at number 26, we have The Finals. This is a new multiplayer first-person shooter from some ex-Battlefield developers, and this is like a crazy over-the-top, seemingly Unreal Engine 5 game with beautiful graphics and incredible destruction in small arenas with fast-paced combat. So picture like the destruction of the old Battlefield days with a fast-paced shooter, and you got The Finals. It's got a little bit of a game show-style spin on it, and the beta was pretty sweet. The destruction is really satisfying. To blow a hole in the wall and then punch an enemy in the face, or just drop a whole building on the opposing team is pretty sweet, and we're excited to see what more comes of this one. Coming down to the halfway mark, we have Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. This is the return.
That kinda looks nice. Hold on. The Finals. Okay. I'll at least take a look at it. The Finals. Gameplay.
Field days with a fast-paced shooter, and you got The Finals. It's got a little bit of a game show style spin on it, and the beta was pretty sweet. The destruction is really satisfying. To blow a hole in the wall and then punch an enemy in the face, or just drop a whole building on the opposing team is pretty sweet, and we're excited to see what more comes of this one. Coming down to the halfway mark, we have Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. This is the return of the classic PC franchise, and it's got big shoes to fill because those original games were game changers for PC players. But thankfully, from what we've seen so far, it does look pretty sweet. I mean, from the graphics to all the weird scientific anomalies. The developers have had an uphill battle working on this one, but we're excited to finally see more of it soon. Now, next over at number 24, we have Ark 2. This is the follow-up to Ark Survival Evolved, one of the biggest mainstream survival games to ever hit. That thing was on like every platform. I feel like everybody played it, even if it was kind of busted at the start. But Ark 2 is seemingly going bigger and badder with more budget and Vin Diesel in the game. So yeah, there's that. He's apparently also working on it in some capacity. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, Ark 2 might drop this year. Now, next over at number 23, Alan Wake 2 is slated for this year. We are huge Remedy fans here, from Max Payne to, of course, most recently Control, and Alan Wake finally getting a sequel is great. The people behind Remedy have said that they're going more for survival horror this time, less of like a story action adventure game. So for them to embrace horror, we're all for it. The original game was creepy, but we hope they take it even further. Next, over at number 22, we have Lords of the Fallen. Yep, this is the next game in the Lords of the Fallen series, but it's going in a very different direction, if you could tell, stylistically, way more fantasy-oriented, and probably still having that kind of Souls-like combat, but it looks pretty sweet, not gonna lie. The brief glimpses we've seen seem pretty promising. And next, over at number 21, we have Counter-Strike 2. Yes, believe it or not, Valve, after all this time, is finally updating CSGO to a whole new thing with new tech, seemingly new gameplay enhancements, new maps, all that stuff. This is a really, really big deal in a certain sector of the PC gaming market or culture. So when this does drop, which is fairly soon, I expect it to be a pretty big deal. Next, over at number 20, we have Homeworld 3. This is the return of the sci-fi RTS series with some crazy looking fleet combat. I mean, this stuff so far from what we've seen looks really over the top and like they've really stepped it up. If you like space battles, navigating complete 3D space environments and really being careful about every move, and also just being impressed by the vistas and the technology and the graphics they have here, Homeworld 3 might keep you busy this year. This one's for the real nerds. Shout out to them. Now, next over at number 19, speaking of real nerds, we have Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. If you're a fan of the dwarven stuff from Lord of the Rings, look no further, because they've taken the concept of dwarven mines from Lord of the Rings and applied a really cool gameplay concept to it. This is like a survival crafting game, but like you're building up the mines and you can do it with friends, and it just seems like a really good idea. If you can see the gameplay, it's cool. That's all we really have to say about that one. We love Lord of the Rings. But moving on over to number 18, we have Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Now, this doesn't have an official release date at the time of making this video, but they've been working on it for a while, and we're hoping we see it this year because it is the follow-up to the incredible Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. The graphics seem to be next level here. We've seen Xbox tease it a lot on their platforms, but we know it's dropping on Xbox and PC, and we hope it's good or even better than the first one, because the first one was great, but it had room for improvement, and we hope they kill it. Next, over at number 17, we have Baldur's Gate 3. This one has been in early access for a long time, man, and it's a long time coming. The full release is finally coming this year, and people are pretty excited. If you like top-down, good old RPG action, Baldur's Gate seems like it's going to have a lot, from interesting stories and paths to characters. It seems like they got you covered after all this time. Next, over at number 16, we're going to go out on a limb here and talk Pragmata. This was announced a little while back as a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC game from Capcom in the RE engine, and it almost seems kind of like Hideo Kojima-esque, weird and trippy sci-fi. Apparently it's going to have some exploration elements and space stuff. Can you tell that there's not really a lot out about this game yet? It's slated for 2023, but we haven't heard anything in a while. Capcom might just come out of the dark with this one. Who knows? But we're going to wait. Next, over at number 15, we have Aliens Dark Descent. The licensed Aliens games have been hit or miss, but when they hit, they really hit. And this one seems like it might hit. It's like a top-down RTS action game where you play as colonial marines facing off against Xenos. You're clearing rooms, you're exploring, you're kind of growing out the fog of war, which in this case is darkness, and you illuminate it with your marines as flashlights. You have to manage their stress levels and their weaponry, and it seems like it's shaping up to be pretty awesome. Next, over at number 14, we have Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 was announced almost like it feels like freaking 10 years ago or something like that. It's gone through multiple developers, and now it's finally releasing soon. You're going to go to Hollywood, California, and slash a bunch of zombies in open environments. Not open world, though. It's actually kind of level-based, but with big levels, lots of creative over-the-top weaponry.
Actually, some of this action looks really cool.
We've been waiting a long time for this one. We don't know if it's going to like live up to that years-long wait, but as long as it's a decent zombie game, we're in. Now, next over at number 13, we have Ubisoft's Skull and Bones. This is their kind of competitive, online, multiplayer pirate game where you can build your own pirate ship, man your own crew, and navigate the high seas and either team